time. So, as I mentioned, it's very nice to be back here in Vermilion, and I'm very grateful that everybody came out tonight in this lovely, well, somewhat dreary, pretend to be summer weather. Grateful we didn't get any tornadoes, as I thought earlier with the siren. Anyway, hopefully we'll all make it through. So I'm here to talk to you about the book that I've written that came out earlier this year called The Devil Wears Clogs. And I'm going to talk for about 35 minutes, probably, and then leave time to ask questions. And this, I would really like this to be an informal event. I don't enjoy lecturing anyone. So if you have questions, if you want to talk about places you've traveled or experiences you've had while traveling during this, please speak up, and I'm happy to get you involved in the conversation because it makes it all a lot more interesting. Because I've worked in IT for almost 20 years, this is how I do things. I use PowerPoint, and it can be somewhat boring, but we'll make sure that it's not too boring tonight. There's a lot of images in there, a lot of pictures of places that I've been experienced. So just to give you the rundown, I will introduce myself, although a lot of you know me, so we won't talk about that a lot. Tell you a little bit about why I wrote the book, what it's about, and then take some look at the pictures that I have from different places that I've lived in Europe, and what's coming up next. I'm sure you recognize me there. You might not recognize the lady next to me. Her name is Sally Ann Atkinson, and Ms. Atkinson is the former Lord Mayor of Brisbane, where I live now, Brisbane, Australia. She came to introduce me at my book launch. Sally Ann is, after she left the position of mayor, I think she's the only female mayor we've had in Brisbane. And after she left that position, she went on to work in France as a trade minister, did a lot of international work. I think she moved to the Middle East after that. Not 100% certain, but she's a woman with a great deal of international work experience, so it was a good honor for me to have her come to the event. So as you all know, I grew up here with many of you, and after I left here, I went to Ohio State, left there in 1994, and always wanted to travel. Got the taste for it very young, and never got rid of it. I'm a compulsive traveler, and stuck with that. So I was working for an IT company, one of the largest IT companies, consultancies in the U.S. in 2001, and I was asked if I would go to Germany. An email came through 3 days after September the 11th to ask if I would go to Heidelberg, Germany for a year. And obviously we all know what was going on at that point in time. It was a pretty frightening time for us after the events of September the 11th in New York and D.C. So, but I didn't hesitate. I honestly thought, okay, well, the clock is ticking and there may not be another chance, so it's time to go. So I went to Germany and landed there in October and stayed for a year. And during that year, I met and started working with a lot of people in the Netherlands, in our Amsterdam office, and they asked me to come there afterwards. And I ended up staying in Holland for 5 years. And that's what the book is about. The book ends in 2007 when we had the opportunity, my husband and I, had the opportunity to go to Singapore after that. So I stayed in Singapore for 4 years again. 4 years seems to be a recurring theme. I don't know why. 4 years later, we went to Australia, where I now live. 2011, we moved to Brisbane. The reason that to read all that, if you're trying desperately, please don't. I'll talk more about the reasons I wrote the book. How many people use TripAdvisor? Sure. Anyway, so I've lived in 5 countries, 4 continents, but I've traveled to 42 countries. So this is a copy of my profile from TripAdvisor, just to show you where I've been around the world. This is the book. That's the book of all time. So the reason I wrote The Devil Wears Clogs is because I was terrifically few times, if I'm honest. So I thought if I put down the lessons that I learned, the mistakes that I made, that other people who came later, young professionals who want to work abroad, people who are just dying to get overseas, or maybe people who are already there and feeling very lonely, because it is an isolating experience, they might get some insight, things that I wrote, or maybe might feel a little bit less. So we can all get in the time machine and go back to 2001. If you remember, we didn't have Google, we didn't have we had dial-up internet, right? It was the dark ages. We didn't have corporate cultural training. We didn't have any of that kind of information at our fingertips that we now have today. So I couldn't find very much. What I could find were books that I could find about traveling were books written. The books by women were predominantly about cooking, regional dishes, going to the market in different countries. And while that's fantastic, and those are really interesting books, didn't quite have the picture that I was trying to tell. So the other book that I could find was books written by men, which were how-to guides, how to get a visa, how to get an apartment, how to get whatever you need, solve your problem, boom, boom, boom. But what I couldn't find were books that gave an illustration of day-to-day life overseas, and especially what it's like to work in a corporate office in another country. So I thought it was such a... So as I mentioned, a few days after the 11th of September, I got the request to go to Germany. And shortly thereafter, I flew my pet. The reason this is on here is because if you remember at the time, there weren't even that many planes allowed into U.S. airspace, right? It was still very limited flight traffic because of what happened on the 11th. So I'm packing madly. I'm trying to find a home for my cat. The only people who can take my cat are friends in Phoenix, Arizona. All right, the cat to Phoenix, running around with trying to get everything, trying to figure out what am I doing, what do I need to take, all that. And I fly into the airport, and my cat carrier, I get up to the check-in counter, the gate desk, and I ask the woman behind the counter, please, could you please just watch my cat for 1 second while I go use the ladies' room? No. She thought maybe I had a bomb in a cat cage. No. I wouldn't blow up my cat. Do I look like a kind of person who would blow up a cat? So it was very tense. All this stuff was happening. It was a very, very tense period overall in the United States. And also, as I'll talk about later, once I got to Germany, it was tense on that side too. So I eventually got there at the beginning of October 2001 and stayed a year until 2002. So now I wonder if there's anything So who has been to Heidelberg? It's a beautiful place, isn't it? So I know we all love Vermilion. I know we all love Northeast Ohio, and it's great. This is what I moved to. So I left this lovely lakeshore area in Cleveland, and I landed in this fairy tale of Heidelberg. Heidelberg is about an hour's ride south of Frankfurt. And this, you can see this top, is the Schloss, the castle. That's a German word for a castle. And my house was just down the corner here. So I've got the dream, right? I'm in fairy tale land, living underneath a castle. It's quite amazing. I was unprepared, as I mentioned, but I felt very blessed to have this opportunity. Wasn't really sure how it managed to get there, but regardless, I was pleased. The architecture in this town is still 14th 1500s. It's very, very well preserved. It's absolutely pristine. The rumor is that it remained that way because General Patton's mistress lived there, so that it wasn't bombed during the war. That's the reason that I heard, for the fact that it's so absolutely perfect. But it's beautiful. We used to call this the salt and pepper bridge. And because my German was bad. Very beautiful. So this is another street right next to my house. This is my street. Now, you can't tell, but that is very, very steep. Okay? This isn't too steep, but I'm going to relate a little tale to you. The street is actually called Eselsbad, which in German means donkey path. Really glamorous. The donkey path. It's named that because they used to cart goods up to the castle of the king and all the kings and people in the 1600s, and it's remained that way ever since. It's exactly the same as it was. I'm going to read one short story. So I went home for Christmas. I came back to Ohio for Christmas, and then during that time, Germany was getting nailed by serious snowstorms, really serious, and I didn't hear anything about it. Germany, it whirled away, was pummeled by several intense snowstorms while I was home. It barely registered. I spent New Year's Day flying the red-eye to Frankfurt. Racing along the snow-free Autobahn, I noticed the surrounding countryside was covered with a thick blanket of sparkling white snow. How pretty it was, south of Heidelberg. 20 minutes into the journey, the radio announcer reported that the Red Cross had been out distributing blankets to stranded motorists the night before. As I listened, I felt a stab of empathy for the poor shivering stranded who had undoubtedly missed their New Year's Eve celebration. I didn't think about it again until I reached my Eselsbad driveway. Squeezed into my trunk were two overstuffed suitcases bursting with everything I couldn't find in Germany. American toiletries, over-the-counter drugs, fashionable clothing, all these things were non-existent in Heidelberg. Combined with the Christmas gifts I hadn't wanted to leave behind, the result was an accident waiting to happen. Unfortunately, Eselsbad, my beautiful romantic donkey path of a street, was on a steep hill. It was too narrow, hence the name path, to drive to my doorstep. Normally this was no problem. The climb was an annoyance with armfuls full of groceries, but not a major obstacle. On January 2nd, 2002, however, these 30 feet from the base of the hill to my door were equivalent to something Everest. Over a foot of snow covered the ground, and I wore black leather boots with green heels. Of all the Euro days which have come and gone, it is this day more than any other that I regretted the choice of footwear. Parking at the base of the hill, I yanked my suitcases from the trunk. Without a shot in hell of bringing both up at once, I began to carefully extricate one. The thick, wet snow was slick as ice. Too bad I didn't take 5 seconds to notice, because 3 seconds later, my feet were out from under me, and my face packed with frozen snow. For my follow-up act, the sub-zero surface was so smooth I couldn't get enough footing to stand up. Sprawled on the ground, dazed and confused, with snow-covered knees, looking every bit the Hazel that I felt like, I could literally feel the Deutscher stare in full force from the windows above. Those windows. Nothing happened on the Eselsbad that escaped the attention of my neighbors. Eventually, I spiked one stupid heel in the ground and managed to stand up, gripping the open trunk. Dropping one suitcase into my apartment, I prayed that it was the one that contained flats. The shoe gods thankfully smiled upon me. Quickly, I traded fashion for function before returning to the car with the other bag. Over an hour later, physical exhaustion joined with jet lag, and I collapsed onto the bed. Couldn't have been raised by the devil himself. So that's a little taste of Heidelberg. I was waiting for me when I got there. So, as I mentioned before, I had no idea what I was getting into exactly. And while this is a very beautiful place, it has a complete absence of any convenience. All the American convenience used to, where you just drive up somewhere, pick out whatever you need, drive back to your house, park in the garage, gone, all gone. So it was a lot of trial and error happening in my life in Heidelberg. This is the view from the castle, looking out over the city. This is the river, and even in January, it's still. I used to be very blonde, which is why there's a blonde chick on the cover. What I mentioned earlier, that when I arrived in Germany, everyone was also quite tense. No one knew what to expect, what was coming after September 11th, that was the attacks in New York City. So when I was here, my girlfriend, she was dating a guy in the U.S. Army, and he was told about a demonstration, and he was told not to go anywhere near it. All these guys were warned to stay away. So of course we went directly down there to figure out what was going on, as you do. It was really nothing. It was a demonstration over school fees, university-age kids. It wasn't anything threatening, but there were 300 of these German polizei with their very, very mean looks and their very big batons, just sort of waiting for anybody to step out of line. It was quite intimidating. Now, I don't know if any of you have been to a concentration camp before or visited one in Germany, but this one is outside of Munich. It's called Crocker. And while it wasn't top on my list to go visit a concentration camp as a tourist activity, I felt it was something important to do. I had the opportunity to do it. And when I learned in Vermilion schools, actually, about the war, I learned about the Holocaust. We definitely taught very well about everything that happened, but it was a textual feeling. Quite at a distance growing up in Ohio from what was being experienced here. So if you see these words here, the Arbeit macht frei, which means work makes you free. That's what people were being told, that if they worked hard enough, they'd be free. So walking out of these grounds brought the reality of what Europeans and German people actually felt before home considerably to me. A lot of misery. I said it's my first place to go. I'm glad that I did it. I feel I have a little more understanding than I used to. This says never again in 5 different languages. Wouldn't that be nice if it were actually true? On a lighter note, we are now at the Hofbrauhaus, which is a famous German beer hall, which is slightly more upbeat scenario. This was built by King, I believe, the 1600s, and it remains exactly the same. It's stunning. It would be very cool. So, before I move on to the Netherlands, I'm going to read one more short story about the time that I was living in Heidelberg. The great thing about living in Germany, while it wasn't a glamorous city of my dreams where I thought I would be living when I pictured my life abroad, it's very, very close to a lot of amazing places. So it was a 3-hour ride to Paris, which is fantastic. And a colleague of mine, so I worked with a team of Americans and Germans when I was living there, and I forgot to mention the reason I actually got the opportunity to go to Germany in the first place wasn't because I had fantastic German skills. It was because I had experience with customer management software, and that was the experience that the Germans needed at the time, so otherwise I wouldn't be able to go. So working with an IT project, mixed bag of Americans and Germans. In the last days of October, my colleague and I managed to buy tickets to Paris. My maiden voyage on the legendary European train system was a thrill. My colleague Nancy had arrived from Germany a month before me from Portland. This was her first visit to Paris. We'd only known each other for a few weeks, and I wasn't sure we'd make great travel mates. She struck me as a little naive, despite taking on the 12-month German challenge. It's funny, right? I'm calling this girl naive. Wanting to see Paris again, I crossed my fingers and hoped for the best. The Deutsche Bahn system is a model of German locomotive mastery. The seats are comfortable and well-structured. The train travels at over 200 miles an hour, making the 3-hour ride to Paris air to New York breeze. The bar car was at the end of the train. More out of curiosity than hunger, Nancy and I decided to investigate. Despite literally bouncing from side to side, we made our way through several cars without incident. Many details of the train travel intrigued me, but the food and beverage selection didn't. The disappointing menu consisted of potato chips and soggy white bread sandwiches. We handed over our Deutschmarks anyway and sat down at the larger of 2 tables in the dining car. The table had room for at least 6 people, but there wasn't anybody else in sight. Shortly after we sat, a mature, stylishly dressed French woman approached. "Est-ce que cette place est libre?" she asked, indicating one of the empty seats at our table. "Oui, s'il vous plaît." Of course, we didn't mind, she said. I glanced at Nancy, who was engaged in a fierce struggle with the plastic keeping her from her sandwich. Her open soda bottle sat precariously between her right hand and elbow. Picture it. Doe-eyed American blonde is victorious in freeing her sandwich from captivity in plastic triangle container. Pulling ridiculously hard, the hand with newly freed plastic makes direct contact with the open bottle of coke, knocking the contents from here to Provence. With horror, I watched elegant Frenchwoman in the newspaper experience a slow-motion train wreck. Sticky brown cola dripped from her glasses. She delivered a grave look and said, "Don't worry, it isn't so dramatic," followed by, "I'm going to sit over here now," indicating the only available seat in a tiny corner table. Mortified, we fled the car, after numerous apologies in both languages. Several cars away, the unbelievably humiliating faux pas was relayed several times in hushed tones. Finally, a bout of uncontrollable laughter cleansed us from complete embarrassment. Dear elegant Frenchwoman, wherever you are today, je suis désolée once more. I was so happy it wasn't me. Could have easily been me. I have a reputation for conviction. So as you can see, I'm really a grand success in Europe at the start. And things are just going like gangbusters. So as I mentioned earlier, when I was working in Germany, I also had made several trips to the Netherlands, where we had an office in Amsterdam. And I'm going to embarrass the people who just walked in the back and started laughing. So while I was working in Germany, then I went to the Netherlands. This was the first trip I made to Amsterdam. And these two, this is at the time Prince Alexander, who was the crown prince, and Princess Maxima, who is, these are now the king and queen of the Netherlands. So at the time that I was there, the first visit I ever made there, they were celebrating the royal wedding. These two were getting married. It was a huge deal. The whole city was painted orange. Everyone was partying. It's just a fantastic first time to see a place like this, right? So I thought, okay, after all this German sort of coldness and not the easiest way to go, I thought, well, this will be a breeze, right? I'll go to Amsterdam and do some work there, and I'm sure it's going to be easier. I'm standing in the square here. This is Dam Square, and although you can't see it because there's a zillion people, in the balcony here in front, they're about to have their first kiss, so we actually got to see part of the royal wedding, which is something that no American takes are going to get to do. I'm now going to read you a little bit about the devil. So as I mentioned, the book's title is Devil Wears Clogs. A lot of people want to know who the devil is. The devil was a boss that I had in the Netherlands. I'm sure you can guess he was my favorite. So once I left Germany, I went to visit on this visit, and as I mentioned, it was October 2002 that I moved. This is my first day heading to the office in Holland. Standing in Utrecht's madhouse of a central station, I was unnerved when none of the ticket machines had English options, and every sign showing the Crocker's floor listed information only in Dutch. I expected the destination to be in Dutch, but seriously, a little help with the words meaning or delay, no service, wasn't too much to ask, was it? Even the conductors in the station only spoke Dutch. I thought I might By the time I figured out which train went to Harlem, I had little patience left to find a bus to Bell's Brook at its departure time. I flagged a taxi to take me the last 15 minutes to the project office. At the office, I was greeted by the receptionist, who did not, surprise, speak English. 10 minutes later, Daphne appeared. Daphne's the new boss now, according to. She is not the devil. We're getting there. 10 minutes later, Daphne appeared to show me the way to the project office. I had met her briefly in person a few times by then. She was a little shorter than me, with mid-length, mousy brown hair and a typically large Dutch mouth. By the time, I had to admire the way she exuded confidence, even if she had been the one to tell me about Holland's wonderful public transport. We went into an empty cafeteria and sat at a long table. She talked about the project and her team structure. The surprise came when she added, she wasn't the one I'd be working with, but another manager of the sub-team. Her name was Hazel, and she was South African. We ignored the fact that I'd agreed to this assignment because I knew Daphne from previous phone conversations and because I expected to be working in Harlem, not Westbrook, and things would be going great right now. That wasn't the case. I was already wondering what the hell I'd agreed to when Hazel strolled in. My first impression of Hazel didn't tip the scale of doubt in the opposite direction. Her matronly bun and old-fashioned clothes seemed out of step in a high-tech firm. I listened to her ramble on for way too long before she got to the point, which was that she hadn't yet determined the responsibilities for each member of her team. This was not reassuring given the project's short duration. Clearly, I wasn't one to judge how things worked in Holland, so I put on my best big smile and asked where my desk was. She led me to the desk she reserved for me, right next to hers. I'm sure the joy was written all over my face. I started digging into the project documentation only to discover that it was written only in Dutch. In Germany, our documents were written in English and German, so this was another unpleasant surprise. The German client was an international software development company, and where I now sat was a Dutch waste management plant. They had no reason to duplicate their documents in two languages because there were no subsidiaries or system users outside the Netherlands. The fact that the official language of my company is English didn't seem to have a bearing on the situation. That afternoon, Hazel called a team meeting to introduce me to my coworkers for the next 3 months. Somewhere in the Dutch I listened to for 5 minutes, I heard my name, and the team turned to stare as if I hadn't been noticed before. I'm sorry, but I don't speak Dutch. Could we please do this in English? Her slightly ill expression said it all. Apparently neither of us was expecting me to be the lone English-speaking team member. Despite the fact that every person in the room was capable of speaking English and was required to in order to work in the company, Hazel put it to a vote. Would it be all right with everyone if we speak English? Groans, slumped shoulders, and shaking of heads all around indicated that the answer was no. And so the light at the end of the tunnel, my saving grace from having to return to the United States, turned out to be an ongoing train. So things are just getting better all around, aren't they? I'm going to read one more passage about an interaction that I had with the devil, and I'm going to show some pictures of some other places in Europe. But I won't tell the ending about how the story goes with my friend, but I'll tell you, all the names have been changed in this book, and I named him Ilko, which is a popular Dutch name, E-E-L-C-O, and I named him that because it reminded me of Slime and Eel, if that tells you anything about the kind of character that I'm dealing with. So I'm going to read you one interaction that happened. If Ilka was going to demolish my reputation by stating I was, I finished the first project working with Hazel and friends, and then went on to this one. So this is a separate endeavor that I'm working on with another Dutch team. If Ilka was going to demolish my reputation by stating that I was unable to create a coherent presentation, I was going to demand that he prove it. I scheduled a meeting to review the document page by page and error by so-called error. We agreed on a date in our Amsterdam office rather than using the client office. I barely managed to secure a conference room for my showdown with Elko. I arrived at the office very early to avoid fighting for a workspace. By the time I had left, I had planned to review my work for the umpteenth time, that missing magic ingredient that would make it acceptable to Ilka. The tension spread through me like wildfire as soon as I walked into the office doors. It was early, but it was already crowded, and I was forced to cram into a non-existent space at a table already overcrowded with disapproving coworkers. By the time I finally got situated, it was time to meet Ilko in the conference room. While I waited for His Majesty to arrive, I mentally listed the places I would rather be: Copenhagen, Barcelona, Edinburgh, Sicily, Rome. The list was nowhere near finished when he showed up, 20 minutes late. When I'd asked for the meeting, I explained its objective. I had no intention of doing so again for fear I might explode. In comparison, Ilka was very calm. It was a significant departure from the hothead who had attacked me the week before. He, in his shiny leather shoes, sauntered in, casually as can be, fired up his laptop before going for coffee. Why should he be deprived of caffeine just because he's already wasted half an hour of my time? I assumed we'd go over my presentation for him to critique, but it's high time this international businesswoman stopped making assumptions because she is never right. No, we didn't go over my presentation so I could discover the error of my ways. What happened next is Elko pulled out a training presentation on how to enter information into a PowerPoint template. What happened next was that he spoke to me like a naughty child who had matured past eating afternoon naps. What happened next is that he said absolutely nothing specific on where my written content was so spectacularly wrong. He went through each slide of the training pack and read verbatim from the pages of something that was designed for the firm's entry-level employees. The material was clearly beneath a woman with over 10 years of business experience. I found it so insulting I was at a total loss of words. He continued his elementary school nattering until the demeaning ordeal came to an end. If I didn't have the confidence to speak up and call him on his bullshit, I certainly wouldn't give him the satisfaction of asking questions so he could fix me with that self-satisfied smile and provide wisdom on occasions. Away. I plastered a look of bored indifference on my face until the teacher-student routine was over. When he finished his self-important display, I delivered the most insincere but profuse appreciation I could muster and made a dash for the door. The last thing I saw before walking out was Elka's smug look. For the first and only time in my life, I had to punch a colleague in the face. So, I was really having a great time in Amsterdam, as you can see. And so things were escalating in a not so great way. And I think probably I know that if I had a little bit more information, things didn't have to go down the path that they went, but that's how it was going. Soon after, did anyone pronounce that, by the way? Eisenstein. Yay. Stars. Eisenstein. So I ended up leaving Amsterdam and moving to Dorp. Dorp is the Dutch word for village. And this is definitely a Dorp. As dorpy as it gets. It's a funny word. Again, this is an amazing place. It's 11th century walled city, and the architecture is all, it's original, it's beautiful. And while I was living in Amsterdam, I could kind of stay under the radar. If I didn't open my mouth, people didn't immediately know where I was from, so I could just kind of smile and get by without people knowing that I was a foreigner. When I moved to this town, it was like I had a flashing red light on my forehead. Foreigner, stay away. No, And it was like that's how people reacted, because the Dutch people have a funny trait. I was practicing the language. I was learning the language, doing the best that I could. If you try to speak Dutch to a Dutch person and you don't do it well enough, they will immediately revert back to English. And I never figured out whether that was to save me from embarrassment or just because they couldn't be bothered listening to my very bad Dutch. I still don't know. But this is the street that I lived on when I left Amsterdam and moved in with my boyfriend, who was a tall Dutch guy. They're not all terrible. This is the Walkade, and at the end of the street is it's called the Wind Otter. It's one of the last functioning windmills left in the Netherlands. There aren't that many. And it grinds flour. And there's a guy called the Molenaar, which he lives around here, and he lives there with his family. He takes care of the mill. He still wears wooden shoes. The whole thing, which I think for 2000 is quite amazing that life like this still goes on. So even though my work life, wasn't, as you can tell, wasn't going spectacularly well at the time, I was seeing all these amazing places in Europe, the Netherlands, and I was absolutely fascinated because every time you turn a corner, there's something new to discover. So this is in an area called Kinderdijk, where they have about 20 windmills in one location, and that's really very uncommon. It's a very unusual place. And I took this picture because I thought that sign was so funny. It was like the big windmill army was coming together. Probably some of you have seen pictures of the tulip field in the Netherlands. This is a town called Lissa, which is absolutely stunning. This is a festival. It's called Europe's largest spring garden. It's called the Kokenhof. And for this festival, they plant over 8 million bulbs. It's amazing. This is a town which you might call Buda, but I may shock you to tell you it's called Gouda. Everything in Holland has a sound, so it's called Gouda. And at Christmas time, they turn off all the lights in the city, and just light the windows with candles. It's absolutely magnificent. I think they're electric candles because otherwise there would be a lot more fires in Gouda. It's still very pretty. Beyond Europe, I also had a lot of adventures. Obviously, I mentioned Paris, which is one of the most amazing cities in the world. This is in Sicily. This one, I'll tell you a story about this one. Does anyone recognize that car? Very Montblanc. Rolls Royce. I think it's a Bentley maybe, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's the Queen's car. This is November 29th of 2002, and I remember the date because I am one of those people that enjoys celebrating my birthday for as long as possible, and because my life was going so great in the Netherlands, I said, let's get out of here, please, and go somewhere fun to celebrate my birthday, and we landed on Edinburgh, and in Edinburgh, in Scotland, I walked up to the ticket counter. This is at Edinburgh Castle. I walked up to the ticket counter, and the guy said, well, you get a discount today because some of the rooms are closed. And I thought, okay, yay for discounts. And but why? Why are the rooms closed? And he said, because the Queen is visiting. The Queen is visiting. Okay, I expect that. So, but I thought, the Queen, you never get to see her. So we walked into this place, just crossing over the drawbridge, and pretty soon the guy yells, "Get out of the way! The royal car is coming!" And I'm thinking, oh my God, I gotta get my camera, I gotta find it. I'm digging through my bag, and holy shit, the Queen is coming! And then this is the picture that I got. I swear that's the Queen. I don't know who this lady is, but it's a much better picture of her. But I promise that's her. It was not a happy camper, but this is in Venice. I didn't know you're all still awake. Right, so I think that's the end of the pictures that I have. The next, there will be a second book. The sequel is coming out at the end of the year. It's going to be called Singapore Salvation. It's about the years that I spent living in Singapore and traveling around various Asian countries. And as you might have guessed, I have a lot more adventures. I make a lot more mistakes, that kind of thing. It's a general theme. Anyway, so that'll be out at the end of the year. If I get to it, I'm planning a third book. I'm really crossing my fingers that it happens. It's about a book about life in Australia. The tentative title is The Python in My Driveway, because that is the python that was in my driveway where I live in Brisbane. I went out to get the mail one day. It was walking along, minding my own business, and there was a 6-foot python in the driveway, in between me and the mailbox. And I remember someone, of course, me being me, I ran to get my camera. I didn't really stress about it. I just took the camera. But several people said I would never go get the mail again. But they're harmless. He sauntered off his ways. How wide was it? Is the question. Did we say medium size? Was it skinny or big? Very bad at solution things. Was the biggest snake I had ever seen in the wild. If folks go down that road, especially my driveway, really close to my house. So I kind of crept up on it with the camera, and eventually it raised its head way up. That's enough, lady. And then we both went our separate ways. No one was injured. So that's not bad. But I'm hopeful to this book is going to come out in 2016 because it's funny with Australia. You think that we look very much like Australians, and we can't really tell too much different except for the funny accent. But they are very, very different. So, interesting. I'm finding it very interesting. This is something else that I'm working on, and it's a website company that I came up with called Worldwide Publications. And as I mentioned earlier, the reason for doing all of this is because I found it a very isolating experience working overseas, and I wished I would have had more information. And after 14 years, I know a lot of people, a lot of professionals with all kinds of information, knowledge to contribute. So I'm trying to centralize that into one site. That's worldwidepublications.com. And I do blogging on this site and plan to do a lot more with it, but also have authors contribute from various regions of the world. I'm going to pass this out. So one side has the book cover, and the other side has the website. Sure, I don't think there's too much else to say. Questions? These are some pictures from the website. This is about a business trip to South Africa, which was very enlightening. This is when we went piranha fishing in the Amazon, learning to catch a piranha. And this is about how much I enjoy working with French. There's no sarcasm there at all. These are the social media pages. I have now a Facebook page for the Devil Wears Clogs, which is facebook.com/devilwearsclogs. Well, but if you could all stop by and like that page for me, that would be magnificent. And now, really, I'm ready to turn it over to see what questions you have. That's it. Yes. So the question is, was Amsterdam fun and wild and crazy? What do you think? I would say all of the above. Absolutely. It'll take some years off your life. Like Vegas or something like that. Yeah. It was great. It's hard to work there. It's hard to get work done. But it's a very beautiful place, full of all kinds of things you should do. And I didn't do any of it. Neither did all of my friends who came to visit. Are there other questions? Question is advice for aspiring writers, and that's a very good question. I tried to figure that out, and I would say go for it. I mean, that's the number one thing. Is just keep going towards it. After spending so many years in IT, I thought, how can I do this? How can I change my life and do something that I'm totally unprepared for? But the key is practice. The key is just to keep at it, and the more you do it, the better you get. Take advantage of opportunities at school, take advantage of opportunities on the internet to publish things early on. Get people to review your work, get people to look at it who are writers and who have more knowledge than you at it, and give you some advice. But the answer is, in my opinion, if I could do it, anybody everybody can't. It's a long time to try to get good at it. I'm still working on that. Don't try to be perfect. Perfect. The question is whether my travels have stopped in Australia. Nobody knows. Where's the magic 8 ball? I really don't know what's going to happen next. We are permanent residents in Australia, which is the step before citizenship. And we bought a house there, so the intent is to hang around. But that can always change. So I don't expect to leave. I really enjoy it. I'm having more fun there than some of the earlier drama that I mentioned. So ooh, I don't work for corporate world anymore. I left that in 2012. I'm a much happier person. But basically, I work for myself. I started this company to to work on these books. And I started writing while I was working in corporate, and it's almost impossible to do it well, to do both. It's just too much demand. So now I hang out with koalas and pythons. It's a very quiet place in Australia. I keep writing. Hopefully it's meaning something to someone. Yes. A favorite place that I have visited or lived in. I have many favorite places. It's going to sound like a cop out, but it's true. I have pretty much everywhere I go, there's something that's my favorite about it. I always find something to like, something maybe I don't love about every particular place. But I would definitely say that the country that I'm enjoying living in the most is Australia. It's a lot. It's just a voice in the head. Because it's very open. So when I lived in Europe, I left here and went to Europe. Personal space is cut in half. It's much more densely populated. There are people everywhere, which makes me nervous. And then when I went to Asia, it was cut into a fourth. There's tons more people in Asia. Just constantly people everywhere you go. You really can't escape the crowd. We went to Australia, and Australia is the size of the United States. It only has 22 million people. So it's very wide open territory. Drive away from my place and be in the middle of nowhere very quickly. You can drive to the beach, you can go camping, we have mountains and beautiful beaches and islands. So I don't have too much to complain about. If there was any money to be made in New Zealand, I would live there. I think it's spectacular. It's also remote, also very friendly, also very beautiful, and a lot cheaper than Australia. But there's not a lot of industry there, so it's hard to find a job. That's the difficulty with that one. And then if you do find one, the cost of living is dramatically lower than Australia, and salaries are also dramatically lower. So maybe that's retirement land. I don't know. The question was, if there's one thing that would have made the European experience better, what would that be? I mean, this is something I've thought about a lot, right? I've thought about, was it me? Was it the company? What was it that made things go so spectacularly wrong for a good part of the time? And I really just wished I had more information. I wished I understood what Germans were like. I wish I understood what Dutch people were like. I wish I had a clue. And I just didn't have it. I also didn't understand that women enjoy a pretty, let's say, kind of equal standing to men in America. That isn't true elsewhere. So that was another eye opener for me. So I think just having more information, and that is essentially why I did all of this, so that I could try to get knowledge to people. Of course. The question was, did I get to Oktoberfest? Yes, I did. Twice. And it's great. It was the friendliest party I've ever been my trip to South America? It was fantastic. I found my husband and I went to Peru and Chile for our 10-year anniversary in October, and I was completely surprised by how amazing Peru is. I didn't know. I didn't have time to research it as much as I generally do, and so I was grateful to have people who knew about it to help me out. And I found the food to be amazing. I mean, really, there was nothing not to like. A little bit disorganized, but not a place that I was organized. Surprising, exciting, all things. Hostage. Going once. Whoa. Well, the travel agent. So could everyone hear that? She's wondering where I would recommend having travel. It's a great question, actually. I'm not sure how to answer it. I think it's not funny, but I think maybe the trajectory that I did wasn't so bad to start off with Europe, if you can get there, because they're quite used to tourism. It's all well established. It's pretty easy to get from place to place in terms of proximity. A lot of people speak English in the large capital cities. I happen to be in the dorm and things like that where people live when I was talking to them. But I could say Europe is easier than Asia. Asia can be very challenging, and if you ask me where I would like to go back to, I would go back to Asia in a heartbeat, because I find the differences between the countries to be so interesting, but it can be quite tough to get from place to place. And there's still a lot of scamming going on. I suppose that goes on everywhere, but because there's simply more people in Asia who don't speak the Asian languages, I think there's more of them there. So that would be tough if you go to Asia. I would recommend getting some travel advice for help. Australia would obviously be easy. If you like driving on the other side of the road, that was quite an adventure. So when I got here, I was still so jet lagged. I kept wanting to tell my friend, "You're on the wrong side. You're on the wrong side." Yeah, watch out for me on the road. Basically, is what I'm telling you. Anyone else have a question? I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much.